Ladies and gentlemen, I am Joe. He is Nick, and you are listening to The Nick and Joe Show, coming to you live from Canada's flagship conservative talk radio headquarters. That's ThinkRadio.ca, the Think Radio Free Speech Network. I'm sitting here in the studio in Ottawa, and regrettably, because I love it when we're in the studio together, Nick is out on the farm. Are you there, Nick?
I am here.
Nick is on the farm by phone because the internet connection on that farm is just not working very well. I think it's a left-wing conspiracy myself, Nick.
Oh, I know it is. I am convinced it is.
Yes, yeah. Well, and that's just us being conspiracy theorists.
If you're going to be a conspiracy theorist about anything, you might as well be a conspiracy theorist about this.
I completely agree with you. Nick, we got a lot of subjects to cover tonight. It's been a busy couple of weeks, and and a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff we have to talk about is actually quite controversial. And I just thought, given the fact that today is Wednesday, we do our live show on Wednesday, and then we post podcasts, and our first podcast is going to be up tomorrow morning. That's Thursday morning, and that coincides with the start of the Federal Conservative Party convention, which is a virtual convention this year because everybody's still in lockdown or starting to emerge from lockdown, etc. So I just thought that it would be appropriate for us to open the show this week and do our first half-hour segment talking a little bit about the current state of the Federal Conservative Party, its leader, Erin O'Toole, what's going on and not going on within the party, and what's going to happen and not happen at this particular convention. Call it, State of the Conservative Party Union show. So, I don't know. What are your initial thoughts on anything there, Nick? Do you have any initial thoughts?
Initially, I did. No.
Everybody's a comedian. That was Nick's lifetime 15 seconds as a comedian.
That's right, and that's as funny as I get. I think that Erin O'Toole, it's fortunate for him that it's not a in-your-face convention, as in the past, that it's a virtual convention, because there's probably, I'm guessing it is, but I would think that underneath the surface, there's a tremendous amount of unhappiness with Mr. O'Toole and his leadership, or lack thereof, because you've got a situation where he's done more to divide the party than he has to unite it by trying to drive out different elements within the party, the SOCONs being the first one to come to mind, that he doesn't want around. And he's done a lot of things that, let me rephrase that. He hasn't done much at all as far as standing up to the Liberals, trying to build coalitions with the NDP and the Green, although that's never going to be an easy thing to do for Conservatives, given the fact that, they're on different sides of the political aisle. But at the same time, he hasn't, to my best of my knowledge, even made the attempt. Now, maybe he has. But this party, the Liberals, have not put out a budget since 2019 when Bill Morneau was finance minister.
Oh, good point. I'd forgotten about that.
That's right. 2 years ago, no budget. Where is Erin O'Toole standing up screaming for a budget? You get the odd thing, but let's face it, the face of the party right now is not Erin O'Toole, it's Pierre Poilievre. And I'm not knocking Pierre. What's that?
I was going to say, that's the deadly thing to say on the air. If anyone's listening from the party establishment, they are not happy that you've made that observation, Nick.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at it and saying, who do I know who's the most popular, well-known conservative in the country right now? It's not Erin O'Toole. If you were to go down the street and hold up a picture of Erin O'Toole and say, who is he, to 100 Canadians passing you by, I'll bet you 97 of them would say, I have no idea. Do it Pierre Poilievre, and the results would be much higher.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
I don't think you're wrong. I don't. I would hesitate to predict numbers or anything like that, but I don't. In principle, I don't think you're wrong. I think that Pierre has generated a lot more interest and indeed popularity than Erin O'Toole. And rumors are out there that that's one of the reasons why Pierre got moved out of his high-profile shadow finance minister's position over to where he is now, which is largely seen as a demotion. And why would you demote a member of Parliament, a member of the shadow cabinet, who frankly is performing really well? I mean, a rising star. I mean, the only, short of some sort of malfeasance on the part of Poilievre, and nothing that I've heard would even give a hint that there was any problem there. The only possibility that exists is that Erin O'Toole and the people around O'Toole feel insecure and potentially threatened by the rising popularity of this. Can we call him second in command, if you will, in the Conservative caucus? Now, I understand, you're the leader, you want to be seen as the leader, but there are different types of leadership. I mean, there's star leadership, there's a Wayne Gretzky type of leadership, where, the guy's going to score 500 goals in half a season, you know what I mean? And then there's the Chris Chelios type of leadership, where he's a defenseman. He's not hired to go and score goals. He'll score his own fair share of them, but it's a different type of leadership, right? It's so you've got your star leadership, and maybe Erin O'Toole in the political realm is not a Wayne Gretzky. He's a mucker. He's the guy that goes into the corners and digs the puck out and shovels it to the star guy who's going to put the puck in the net. But he's still the captain. Who is a great captain that didn't score that many goals for the Montreal Canadiens for years? Bob Gainey. Whoever Bob Gainey, I don't know if Bob Gainey ever broke the top 50 in goal scoring in the NHL. And that was before they had 500 teams.
That's right. As a matter of fact, Bob Gainey actually looks like Erin O'Toole. Or Erin O'Toole looks like Bob Gainey.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I think Bob's got a little bit more hair than Erin does.
Yeah, maybe so. But you make a good point about... Go ahead.
Bob Gainey was not a goal scorer. He was not... he wasn't even the top defensive forward for the Canadiens, right? But he was... People respected him. He was the captain, that people listened to him on the team. They respected him. Other players respected him. The league officials respected him. And when Bob Gainey said, this is the way it's going to be on the team, people listened to him. And when things weren't going well for the team and it was in the locker room and they closed the door and locked it, and Bob Gainey gave that, everybody in this room's got to pull themselves up by their suspender straps. People listened to him, and he put together. I mean, he held together, along obviously with coaching and other management. He held together great Canadian teams, and as a result of that, Bob Gainey's name is on the Stanley Cup. 5, 10, 11 times. You don't have to be the goal scorer. And can you imagine, Nick? Can you imagine any scenario where the captain of the Edmonton Oilers, when Wayne Gretzky used to play for the Oilers, where the captain of the Oilers, Mark Messier or someone, would say, I don't want to play with that guy anymore. He's hogging the spotlight.
You're making the same point I would, and that is that being a leader doesn't necessarily mean that you get to stand on the podium and take all the glory, which seems to be what passes for political leadership these days in every party, not just in the Conservatives. And there is a tremendous amount of backbiting and backstabbing and undermining within their own parties because the person doing the leading is seen as a target, not as someone to support. And this is what's the problem in the CPC right now, is there's a tremendous amount of that. You've got Erin O'Toole. Now, you would think that somebody with his background, being in the military, will understand that this is a team sport. It's not, one guy cannot defeat the Liberals. Even Stephen Harper, when he won, it wasn't just about Stephen Harper. Everybody focused on him, but there was a whole team that went with him. And if you didn't like Harper, well, too bad, because he had enough other star players on the bench that he could roll those lines and everybody would be have something of value to contribute. That's part of leadership, too, making sure everybody has a job that they feel that they're contributing with, whether it's being a shadow cabinet critic or, being a bulldog or whatever it is. There's all kinds of roles in politics for a whole bunch of people, and Erin doesn't seem to have any idea about how to go about putting the right people in the right place. And when he does do it it's almost by accident, he gets threatened by it and pulls him out of there. And that's what I think you're right. That's what happened to Erin O'Toole.
Well, in fairness to Erin O'Toole, I don't know definitively that this was the motivation one way or the other, but I strongly suspect that it was, and it's really too bad because, in our system of government, we don't have an elected president or a president that's elected in his own or her own right. We have a parliament, we have a cabinet, we have a prime minister who becomes the prime minister by virtue of the fact that enough members of his political party are elected to represent their local constituencies. And so in our system of government, star power in the back benches or star power distributed evenly or relatively evenly even on the front bench is, I think, far more important than the star power of the leader. And certainly from a governing point of view, that's the case. And, you mentioned, Nick, Stephen Harper. I think that, Stephen Harper would be the first person to remind everybody that, he wasn't exactly a Wayne Gretzky of the political world either. And I don't think that Harper would have any kind of difficulty agreeing with that particular assessment. So the thing about Stephen Harper was that, when he negotiated the merger of the party of the Canadian Alliance and the Progressive Conservative Party, he worked closely with Peter MacKay afterwards. Peter played an important role in the caucus, in the shadow cabinet, and ultimately in cabinet as well, occupying several senior positions. Stephen Harper recognized the need to have a strong team and to sell a strong team, to sell that team. It just, again, seems to me that these guys have lost sight of it. And
that was always the whole point of the discussion in the first place, it was the Harper team, or it was the Chrétien team, or it was, pick your leader, the Turner team, or the Mulroney team. It was always, there was a group. It was a lot more like a sports team than it was each individual in the party, but out for their own political ends. There is a tremendous decline in statesmanship and in understanding of what people look for in leaders. They think that just telling them what they want to hear is real leadership when it's anything but that. I mean, people want the truth. That's all they want. It doesn't matter good or bad. Tell me the truth. And that's where honesty, people are so afraid of telling the truth. And you pick the topic. You could talk about